So we know that we call God as love. It is even said in non-religious perspectives where we say God is love, love is God, which is true. Our God, the Father Almighty God, is love. He is full of love. And so He is just too. He is just and He executes judgment. And He is holy and He cannot tolerate sin. There's no place for any kind of unholiness. So, if He loves us, but He cannot also tolerate our evil doings, our sin that keeps us away from Him, and then He executes judgment because He is just. So a lot of people get confused, and a lot of people see it as a contradictory characteristic of God, and they nullify the essence of God or the existence of God, or they just don't feel that the God Almighty fits their agenda, fits what, it's not their cup of tea, you know what I mean? So what about fire? Fire's characteristic is to burn. So if a good person just puts their fingers and say, hey, I'm a good person, how can you burn me? Don't you see that I'm innocent and I'm good? No, because the characteristic of fire is to burn. And the characteristic of God is that He is just. And also He is love. Something that I kind of realized about God is that He is, in a lot of sense, the words that we use, like holy, love, which is loving, righteous, merciful, mercy, gracious, right? Grace. So if you see, there is noun and verb. And we often think that God is just about execution, like the action. So we relate to Him on the basis of the action, the verb. But if you actually think, He is the noun and the verb. So yeah, we cannot be the noun, but we can execute, we can do the action, we can be gracious, but we can't be grace. We can be merciful, but we can't be mercy. We can strive to be holy, but we can't be holy. You know what I mean? So God is holy, God is righteous, and God is just, and God is love. And He shows His loving kindness, and He is merciful, He is gracious. Yeah, I mean, if you get that, let me know in the comments if you get what I'm saying. It's you just begin to look at God for who I'm not saying, see, we have a tiny little brains, so we cannot limit God and try to say, okay, I've put God in a box and this is what I understand about God. So whatever you talk about science and all of that, Whatever science is exploring about, he created it. Whatever experiments and all the centuries, for generations that we are talking, arguing, debating, the studies, the philosophies, and all of that is pointing towards God. Whether you accept God or whether you don't, but it is still about God, the Creator. Where I don't know what to talk about. I mean, I really have no interest in arguing to people who say there's no God, that it's all Big Bang and it's like a crazy, silly accident which created such unique, perfect creation, right from an ant to a spider to a snowflake to a human's thumbprint to the cornea of our eyes and all the internal organs and the seasons and everything, the earth just hanging in there. Are you just telling me that it all just happened by accident? That if any of the planets are slightly out of sync, a little bit more distant, a little bit more closer to the sun, what would happen? There's no life on earth. So I am really not interested in arguing with those people who want to lie to themselves and say, okay, there's no God. I'm talking to people who believe in a God, and yet they, for some reason, they want to keep him distant because they're confused about God. They're confused about what's happening in the world and how to relate with God and what's really true. And I invite everybody to find that for yourself. Instead of asking man about God, ask God about God. Show him that you're seeking him. See, you don't have to admit or believe, but you can seek, right? There are a lot of science experiments, there's a lot of studies. The conclusion is made at the end of the study, but they start seeking with an assumption. In other words, we can call it as faith. So we just have like all these fancy terminologies that we swap and we use. Yeah, you can give me root words and say this, that, and all of that. But just give it a thought, and if any one of you are interested to explore, ask God. Although a disclaimer, we live in a very, very dark, evil world. So there are lower powers. So if I'm talking about God, then there is definitely other powers which not really, see, that I am talking about one God, there's one creator. And when you're trying to reach out to God, I really pray that you get connected to God. But then we live in an evil world. We are not living in some temple, inside a temple, to be like, okay, holy and no evil forces can enter. So when you're tuning in, the chances that a lot of people, it's very sad that people get deceived when they tune into other things. So that's why there's a lot of divisions, a lot of people who believe in God, but they talk about some crazy things and call themselves star seeds and indigo and all of those things. I've been there, done that, and it's different shades of darkness. I can't even explain. So you need to like remove some preconceived notions to see God. I mean, if you're still thinking in your head that you are a mini God and you're God and all of that, I mean, see, God can penetrate through whatever hard wall that could be. But to make the journey easier, I would invite you to just unlearn. It's just like learning. Just have a growth mindset. Don't have a fixed mindset. You know, just explore God. Ask God, God, show up. Tell me, these are the questions I have. Don't be so cynical. Don't be showing your hatred to fellow human beings or other things, or showing your fist to God. Instead, ask God, okay, why are you doing this? What is the answer? What happened? Yeah, that's what I would invite you to do. And a little bit of closing comments. I wouldn't want you to get influenced by what I'm saying and then just cancel out the entire thought of exploring just because I'm telling you where I found God. I found God in various places, but it was Jesus, the Son of God. I really looked up to him like a hero when I was a child. I never saw him as a God. But then after many years, after I forgot about Jesus, I went somewhere, but somehow I found God through Jesus. Like Jesus has told, when he was alive, he told that I am the way, the truth, and the life. I've read that many times, but I never understood that. And I understood that he is the way, and he is the truth, and he is the life. And I pray that you would also find that for yourself. But how I found God is through Jesus. Jesus led me to God, the Father, the Creator. Jesus led me to Father, and which was my destination. Jesus was the way, but I had to travel through the way to reach my destination. And even when I knew Jesus, even when I knew God, I was not really fully convinced, and I was like cat on the wall, one leg here, one leg there, you know, always just being double-minded, right? You also want to be of the world. You want to do worldly things that is not really pleasing to God. I'm not getting into that, but that's how I was. And the concept of God, like if I fall short of the standard of God, I just like don't want to like go face God. Just like imagine yourself like, you know, if you go home drunk, or if you go home high, you know that you're gonna be either busted by your dad or your mom, or you're gonna be ashamed, you feel guilty. So you try your best to avoid your parents, right? You either don't go home if you have that option, or if you go, you just like shut your door. You ensure that you don't get caught. You don't want to face them. And that's what we do with God, because that's a kind of conditioning that we have been taught in the church or in the religious setting, wherever we were. And a lot of people are driven away by this very thought. Like they feel like so ashamed or too guilty, or it's sometimes even like this, right? If I get close to God, I have to let go of all these things, which I don't want to do that. So I naturally choose something over God. And yeah, we all have choices to make, and we do make those choices. God lets us do what we want to do because He doesn't want us to be a man created AI robo. We are human beings for a reason, and God, even though He created us, He has given us the free will. Anyway, back to the story. So, one source which I never went to while my search is the Bible, the scriptures. I've explored Bhagavad Gita, I've explored Quran, I've explored other philosophies, but I never explored Bible for a very, very, very long time. I only read very how do I say, heart soothing Psalms 23, something very positive that I just read, and that's it. And for many years, and I fell into the deception, and I was blinded, and I took many. It's almost, it was the last resort, and yeah, that's where I found out all the truth. And it is a book, and yeah, I understand the doubts people have, the criticisms, the all those kind of arguments that is put on the table. I get it, because I had all of that in my head. But even though it's a book, it's a living word. You only get it when you read it, and when you ask God to talk to you through those words. It's not magic. It is not some visualization stuff, manifestation, nothing of that sort. The only thing is that, like, seek, be truthful, be genuine in your search, and seek God. And that's how I found, and now I'm grateful that I get to serve God, that I get to be with God, that my soul has been saved and I've been given the gift of salvation. We live a very short while on earth, and I just don't believe, it is very difficult for me to accept the fact that this is what all our life is all about, just like this life. I definitely believe there is something after this life. It always had I always had that in my head, and now I've got a confirmation through accepting Christ that I have an everlasting life in a place where there are no pain and suffering, where you can be one with love in the presence of God. We all are desperate for love, and I pray that you experience the love that's just gonna blow your mind away. I speak peace into anybody who's listening to this audio. It's a long one, and I don't think the audio will be even clear. I didn't intend to I just want to record a very small 2 minutes piece. I ended up doing this speech. I talk a lot. Anyway, I really feel that I'll just go with it. I don't know. Let me see if I can edit it. If not, you just get the raw version. Whoever listens to it, kudos to you. God bless you. But I speak peace into your life. I wish you that you may find the truth that God says in the scriptures that when you seek me truly, right, with all of your heart, I would be found by you. So God has promised that He would be found by those who seek Him. So I really pray, and I hope that you find your answers and you find the one true living God. God bless you, my brother and my dear sister, whoever is listening to it. Shalom. Bye bye.